Welcome to a football show, Thursday edition. Hope everybody's having a wonderful week. We got a little bit more draft coverage for you guys. He is Zach. I am Braden. Welcome to the show. Jump into the comments, of course, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, the best liquor store in Nashville in 2022. Already off to a raring start,
Scientifically, the best.
So it's facts. It's facts. Scientifically, the number one liquor store in Nashville. And in 2022, and off to a pretty good start, earning their way to defend that crown. Kingston Group as well.
Look at this
BuildKG.com.
fancy new 440 logo you have on the Twitter side over here.
You like that? What do you think? What do you think about that?
I like it, but I wish I had it for our graphics.
No. That's just for social media. That's our social.
Gotcha.
It's our new social media logo.
I like it.
No, thanks for hanging out. Of course, thanks for joining us. Here's what we're going to do on the show today. Why gambling should be legalized. I think you and I are pro gambling, but there's a story unfolding with Alabama that I think is one of the most crystal clear examples of why gambling should be legal. And it's going to be, I am utterly fascinated with the entire story.
Let me say something, because when you say that, it sounds like it sounds differently than what you're going to actually side on. It's but okay. So I think everybody needs to stay to the very end, because you have to. I think it's going to the wording that Braden is and the side he's going to pick is going to blow your fucking mind.
Which very rarely happens for me. Yeah. I know you blow minds regularly. I have to work hard for it, so it doesn't come naturally. So we'll do that later on in the show. We'll take a quick glance. I know we're going to spend some more time on this as the offseason progresses. We'll take a quick glance at the AFC draft classes, the Colts, and talking about blowing people's minds, like the phrases and the words that Zach will use in the same sentence as another franchise in the AFC South, never before seen in the wild. So you're going to check that out. That's another good conversation. We'll dive.
It's been interesting to see, like, just in terms of the AFC South this year, who may have been possibly the problems that weren't the problems that we all thought they were.
Okay, I think I follow where you're going there.
You'll get it.
I smell what you're stepping in, but good things to tune into later on in the podcast and in the show. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube as well, we appreciate you guys. D Good, Trey for already commenting. We appreciate you guys. We're going to touch on the last 4 draft picks. We spent a ton of time on Will Levis and Peter Skoronski on the last 2 episodes.
To talk about that.
Right. So we spent a ton of time setting expectations for those 2 players. I think setting some expectations, and it's less about the other 4 players in the draft class, far less about value and strategy within the draft and how it unfolded, and more like, all right, well, what do we actually have, and what are expectations for some of these players as we enter rookie camp coming up in a couple of weeks. But all 4 Titans spoke to the media. Ryan Tannehill included, Aaron Brewer, Chig Okonkwo, and Roger McCreary. We will get to what they had to say, because some big changes, quote, big differences, huge changes coming for the Titans offense. And so we will get to that. That's going to be the majority of the first part of the show today. Again, Kingston Group, Build KG. I know you have some personnel news and some questions off the top of the show, so we'll get to that. But Kingston Group, BuildKG.com, of course, locally owned and operated, award-winning custom home and remodeling firm. So make sure you check them out before you make any big decisions about your house. D Good wants more Levis content. I have a feeling we're in the market of Levis content for like the next 3 years. So I think you're going to get plenty of that. But Kingston Group, of course, and then Sinkers Beverages. Go into the store. I was in there last night. Had to get some vino for the wife. Had to get some beer for myself and pick up some vodka as well.
Don't be pretentious and call it vino. It's wine.
Okay, fine. I'm not a wine person.
You definitely shouldn't be saying vino.
Can I say bubbles?
That seems like, especially for champagne.
I picked up some bubbles as well.
All right, there you go.
Here's the thing: I've saved so much money not being a wine person.
Oh yeah,
like if you're a wine person, God bless you, but you're popping $40 for 2 glasses at dinner.
At dinner definitely, because now if you go to the store, listen, let me tell you something. If you're a white wine drinker and you like Sauvignon Blanc, first off, stick to the Marlborough region and get
what?
Marlborough. It's in New Zealand. And get you Nobilo. $14.99 is the best Sauvignon Blanc you'll ever have.
Sounds like you got pinkies up over there at
listen, I know wine. My family is a big wine drinkers, but I would never be caught dead saying vino.
Well, here's the difference. Give me some Kim Crawford Sauv Blanc. I think it's also New Zealand. That's the one my wife drinks. So, but you can get both of those at Sinkers. So go to Sinkers.
Apparently the stream is cracking up, but it's not on our end.
All right, good now though, it says. So
yeah.
Tim Tim, by the way, Tim, congratulations again on the new edition. Okay, so now I'll tell everybody, go to Sinkers, sign up for the in-crowd. They'll track all your spending, and they will, of course, reward you for their loyalty. They'll be loyal back to you. There's got some really cool prizes coming for you, special allocations, especially if you're a bourbon guy. So make sure you check that out, or girl, I suppose. But go in there, check out Sinkers again. They're the ones who made that draft party happen. We got a lot of cool stuff planned for you guys coming up this summer. Okay, so there's some personnel moves. It looks like Ryan Cowden, VP of Player Personnel, is out for the Titans. So some quick news at the top of the show here from a player personnel standpoint, and some questions that I have not yet heard from Zach Lyons.
Yes. Okay, so the Titans are hiring Falcons college scouting director Anthony Robertson as assistant GM per sources. He's second to get that title under Rand Carthon. Obviously, Brinker will handle the free agency, the salary cap. Robinson will handle the scouting operations. He's been around the Falcons for a while. Great, interesting story that I posted up on my Twitter about how he was a Jeep salesman and how he bugged Eric DaCosta about how to break into this business because he just wasn't happy. And he's like, well, you don't have a college degree and you've never coached football, so you can't do it. So he quits his job, goes to a community college, and then starts coaching a local high school team and works his way up from there because this is what he loves to do. And he's had a hand in scouting and or finding players, because I wish I would have put and/or, because everybody's like, oh, it's not that hard to find Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, but he had a hand in scouting Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, which are wide receivers. Please put that on your radar. That does matter, because as much as you want to say that it's not hard to do, people still passed on A.J. Brown, and the Titans didn't draft a wide receiver to the 7th round, so maybe a little harder than what you think. But he did have a hand in finding and scouting Devontae Freeman and Grady Jarrett in the later rounds as well, which have turned into be big finds for the Atlanta Falcons at different times. The Titans have also began restructuring. Obviously, you said Ryan Cowden is out. Max Curtis is the new player personnel coordinator. He was the coordinator for football admin and executive assistant to the executive vice president and GM last year. Bryce Wasserman is director of team strategy. He was staff counsel last year. And finally, Stretch is now director of football admin, football development coordinator last year. One step closer to being a general manager. So those were some of the stuff we wanted to get into. The Anthony Robinson thing is really awesome. I think he has future GM written all over his resume, all in his interviews and profiles, which is also good for compensatory picks later down the road. But it shows that Rand Carthon is targeting people like Chad Brinker and Anthony Robinson for guys that are going to be the next GM in this league, and they're on your staff. This is a good thing for the Tennessee Titans. Anything before we get into the questions? Do you want to add?
No, I think just continuing to show that you're modernized, that you're elevating people. I think you did a great job of laying out there that somebody has some experience finding wide receivers is probably a good thing for this organization moving forward.
No matter how easy it may seem.
No,
some teams make it really hard on themselves.
Yeah, I think John Strike getting closer to GM role is probably good for the team. He's already, in Vrabel's ear every single game. So, this guy knows what he's doing. Very well liked on the practice field by almost everybody. So, if you're getting any issues with the stream or whatever,
we can't. It's fine on our end.
Yeah.
That must be a YouTube thing. It seems like everybody's on YouTube, so it seems like it's a YouTube thing.
D Good, I am also a Mets fan, so I'm going to blame the cracking of the YouTube on Buck Showalter. So,
yep. Sounds like it's a YouTube server problem. Not at least the communications between StreamYard and YouTube after it leaves our broadcast. So there's been a couple of different things that has popped up since the draft, and I'm going to start with this one because this one is a 2-part question, and I want to get your take as an observer of football, but also an observer of this team and its history, but also as a media member.
Okay.
And this is from a Jared versus Joe segment on 102.5, which is my favorite. 5 p.m. every Wednesday. It's my favorite thing to watch. And Caroline asked each of them a question. Is there a quarterback controversy? with Will Levis and Ryan Tannehill. And Jared, and the reason I want to ask the media side is because Jared says, well, NFL Network is talking like it is, and ESPN, Get Up, whatever, is talking like it is. So that means it is a quarterback controversy because other people outside of the local media are making it a controversy.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
I want to get your take on both those.
Okay, so as a football observer and observer of the Titans, is there a quarterback controversy?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm asking. Sorry.
Yeah, the answer is no. The answer is right.
No.
The answer is Ryan Tannehill is the starting quarterback until he's not. There is no, but we all know what the path is here. Whether it's at the end of the season, whether it's Will Levis beating him out in the course of the season, whether it's an injury, whether it's retirement, whether it's like we all know this is his swan song for the team, and he's the starting quarterback until proven otherwise, which is sort of how all NFL football players' lives work. You are the starter at your position until you're not, and that's just what it is. That's how the sport works. So no. Now, when you ask from a media perspective, so like what makes Jared great at his job is that his job is to set up a topic that has two distinct sides, and for you in the car to be listening to have to choose a side, and that he goes all in on one side, which is also what all those talk shows on ESPN and Fox Sports and NFL Network, like that's what they do too, because to keep you engaged, you have to be on a side, and then you need two people debating that side, which is also why Rexroad and Stillman work well in that segment, because it's just going to be an argument, and then you as a listener have to pick a side and therefore are not changing the channel. That is that, and their goal is for you to not change the channel, not for Jared to be right, not for Joe to be right. Their goal is to keep you listening. Full stop. That's it. So
does that mean but does that what he's saying? The media dictates whether there's a controversy or not, despite the fact that there is no controversy.
No, so the reason I say all of that is to lay out the goals of ESPN and Fox Sports and 102.5 and 104.5 and every other. Their goal is not to ask the question that is the smartest or the question that's the most realistic. Their goal is to ask the question that gets you engaged the most, right? Like it's not like if you gave Mike Vrabel truth serum and ran Carthon, and they're probably sitting there going like, well, no, we drafted Will Levis. Ryan Tannehill's our starter. And until Will Levis is better than Ryan Tannehill's our starter. That's it. It's not controversial.
Or trade him.
Or trade him or cut him or whatever may happen. Or maybe they remove his ACL too. I don't know. Like you just don't know. That's not a battle in camp.
Yeah.
Like, and so what Jared's job is and what ESPN's job and what the media's job is not, that doesn't dictate what's happening in the facility. The media is, we're all out here having our own conversations about stuff. Like, this is why I think Mike Vrabel was trolling us with Treylon Burks last year. Like, I think the whole asthma gate thing, I think he was like, hey, Rob, why don't you tell him that it was asthma?
Okay. So, but here's the other thing that popped up on my newsfeed this morning. And then I quote tweeted it and said to take off your two-tone blue glasses, or there should be an age limit on who gets to vote in polls on Twitter. But there are a large segment voting in a poll and in my replies saying that Derrick Henry is a top 10 running back in the entirety of the NFL history. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow. Geez, I'd have to really, I mean, my first response is probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I got through like 15 right off the top,
yeah,
in my head. And then I don't know what all order they're in, but there's at least 15 better running backs. Now, like, we're not talking peaks. You got to talk career. Like, you cannot talk peaks.
Okay.
That's ridiculous.
All right, here's a good example of where my head goes on this, because I hate top 10 lists. I hate GOAT debates because I'm the kind of person who doesn't think that Tom Brady is clearly the greatest quarterback of all time. I just don't. I think he's
the most accomplished quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And he's one of the greatest on the top tier. I think it is impossible to compare eras and generations. How do you compare Gale Sayers and Jim Brown to Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders to Adrian Peterson? And how does Earl Campbell and Derrick Henry stack? Like, Emmitt Smith, to me, Derrick Henry is a significantly better running back, in my opinion, than Emmitt Smith. But the numbers don't say that. So
I wouldn't have put Emmitt Smith in my top 10, but I've seen a lot of people do. I agree with you, but like Marshall Faulk, I think a guy that gets a bad rap is Curtis Martin. Nobody ever talks about Curtis Martin.
Really, I mean, talk about availability, like that dude.
Yeah, for sure. But like Derrick Henry has a chance to be in the top 10 and get in that top 10 position, but he's kind of on the wrong side of 30 to get there, and the odds are against him. But
I think how about this? Here's what I would say. And this is this is kind of the conversation about Derek Mason versus AJ Brown. Derek Mason's the greatest Titans receiver of all time. AJ Brown's the most physically gifted. I would say Derrick Henry is one of the most physically gifted human beings to ever play the running back position in the history of the sport.
Maybe one of the top 10 most physically gifted of any position.
Maybe
I'd put
like
him, Aaron Donald, Terrell Owens would be like in there.
Because again, Herschel Walker, Bo Jackson didn't have great careers, but they're two of the most physically gifted players to ever play the position. I would put Adrian Peterson on that list. I'd put Jim Brown on that list, and I might put, frankly, Earl Campbell might be on that list. But Derrick Henry's definitely in the top 10 of that. Is he one of the top 10 greatest running backs? Like, he's not better than LaDainian Tomlinson.
No.
I would take Marshall Faulk over Derrick Henry.
A lot of people are really dismissing Adrian Peterson's career, too. I've seen in a lot of this stuff.
Adrian Peterson is the freakiest of freak humanoids ever.
Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous. So I just wanted to get your takes on that. We can get to the real stuff.
Yeah. I would say he is again, he is among the greatest running backs of our generation. And that's the only way I think you could define players. Were you the best at your position, among the best at your position during your playing career?
Yes.
That's how you should evaluate players. And Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs on the planet during his career.
Correct.
That's it. All right. So what here's the deal. Ryan Tannehill, Aaron Brewer, Chickaconquo, Roger McCreary, three of those offense. And the biggest takeaway, we'll get to Haas and Keith Carter. We're going to get to some of the other stories that came out of the players talking. But the number one biggest takeaway for me was that the entire offense will, quote, be a big difference, huge changes, different ways we're going to attack the defense, new ideas, new routes, new concepts, new terminology. The offense for the Titans will be totally different. When you hear that and they talked about tempo, they talked about speed, they talked about outflanking people, which I think is a great term. I want to know what that means on the field in the games. When you heard all of that from those guys and you hear